Hi, I'm Jan. In the last video I installed a ducted dust extraction system to my workshop. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link down in the description. Now that system was fine, but I have to walk away from my workbench every time I want to turn the dust extraction on or off. And that's just not good enough. So in this video I'm going to be automating that slightly. Now some people have a remote where they can turn the dust extractor on or off. Now I know me, I'm just going to lose that. So my idea is to put micro switches on each of the blast gates so that the dust extractor will turn on if and only if there is a complete clear path of open gates to a tool. That way I can turn on the dust extraction from exactly where I need it. So let's jump in. In order to automate this, we need a control box. I'm going to go through the circuitry, but I'll be brief, so stick with me. This is the simplest way of doing it. On this side we have a relay, and that will control the actual dust extractor, and on the other side we have the power. So we would have an override switch, and then these two pins would go off to the gates. That's a simple way of doing it. I want to be a little bit smarter than that. This is a diagram for what I'm going to do. Still looks roughly the same. We've got the power over here, the relay here, override switch, and off to the gates. But here we have a transistor and some diodes and some resistors. So this diode is actually an LED, and that's there, so this LED will only be on when I switch the override switch. Right, enough circuitry, let's get on with it. I laid out that circuit on a small bit of strip board and got it soldered up, using a drill bit to break the tracks where necessary. I found this junction box to hold the circuitry, and then I drilled a few holes in it to route the wires. I didn't want to cut the dust extractor cable, so I used an extension lead as the output from the relay. I cut holes for the override switch and the LED, and the control box was done. Each of the gates has a micro switch attached, so a connection is made only when the gate is fully open. I started attaching the switches before realizing that it was way easier to solder the wires if I did it before mounting them. I got 100 meters of wire and set to work routing it along all of the ducts over to the switches. This is a thin gauge of wire as it's only carrying 5 volts at a couple of milliamps. All of the connections and junctions were soldered and insulated with heat shrink tubing. The wire is then just taped to the ducts to keep it tidy. With that done, it just needs to be connected to the control box. So I've just finished wiring everything up, and I'm pretty confident that it's going to work. But now it's time to test it. I've gone around and closed each one of the gates, so none of the switches should be triggered now. I'm going to go around each of them in turn, and hopefully, if I've done it right, then that light will light up when I've got a full path that goes through. Let's try it. One, and this one. Success! Right, gate number 2. Success again! Right, 2 more to try. First one, over by the lathe. Nice one. And the final one, on the second workbench. Fantastic! All worked. I'm dead pleased with that. I'm so glad that worked on the first try. Genuinely, first try. Anyway, now all that's left is to plug in the tools and give it a proper try. So, there's not much dust come off. There's still a little on the top here. A lot better than it was before. But more importantly, there's none down here. Around here where it usually used to come out loads, and none on top of the start-stop buttons. And more importantly, I can't taste it. Usually at this point it would be just everywhere. So that's a great improvement. So just ran a load of pine through the thicknesser, and I could see on the pipe that it was taking away so much material. It was great. There is some left over. This is better than I've had it before. So definitely better than what I was using. And I think it's a known problem with these kind of combination machines that the dust collection just isn't that good on them. So I'm happy with that. So that's pretty good as well on the sander. There's a little bit come out the bottom. I think that's mainly from this disc sander not having amazing collection. But overall, really happy with the performance of the whole system. So I've got the two containers open. I thought I'd have a look what was inside. So here's the main barrel. That's pretty much entirely big chips from the planer. And here's the actual dust extractor itself. It actually has more dust in it than I would hope. But it's not too bad, it's certainly less than was in here. And this is mostly the fine dust. But what I'm going to do is weigh it and see what the difference is. So I've zeroed out the scales based on the container I'm using, and here is the chips out of the dust collector itself. 22 grams. Okay, that's not that much. Let's put that back and compare it to the barrel. 84 grams. So it's over 2.5 times the amount. It's not ideal. I would rather have had it that 95% was caught in the barrel, like is the case for my small shop vac. But this will probably do. It at least separates the dust. I would, however, like to see how it behaves with only one cyclone mounted. So I'll block the other one up and see how it does. So here is the dust collector contents with only a single cyclone running. And that is only 14 grams. I'm really surprised. And here is the contents of the barrel with a single cyclone running. That is 96 grams. 97. So I'm not quite sure what to make of that, really. So I'm actually really surprised by these results. I would have thought that having two cyclones would be better than having one, but it doesn't seem to be the case. I think what's happening is when I've got just the one cyclone, the air is moving a lot faster, and therefore it's throwing the dust to the outside of the cyclone with a lot more strength, and therefore just separating the dust a bit better. But I think I'm going to stick with two for now anyway, because even though it's not as good dust collection, it should be more airflow. And I haven't measured that, so don't hold me to that. In any case, I hope you learned something from this and it's useful to someone. If you've got any questions, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching.